Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm really glad you're here with me. In this podcast, we talk about real-life topics while also helping you improve your English. Today, we're going to discuss something that many adults experience but don't always talk about openly: loneliness. Loneliness is often seen as a problem for teenagers or elderly people, but in reality, many adults in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond feel lonely too. You might have a job, a family, and even many people around you, but still feel that something is missing. If you have ever felt this way, you are definitely not alone. Let's start by understanding what loneliness actually means. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. Being alone simply means you are physically by yourself. Loneliness, however, is an emotional feeling. It is the feeling that you don't have close, meaningful connections with other people. You can be in a crowded room and still feel lonely if you feel that nobody really understands you. One of the main reasons adults feel lonely is that life becomes busier and more complicated as we grow older. When we are children or students, we are surrounded by people every day. We go to school, we see the same classmates, and we often have free time to play, talk, and build friendships naturally. But when we become adults, our daily routine changes. We start working, we may move to a different city, and we have more responsibilities. All of this makes it harder to meet people and keep strong friendships. Work is another big factor. Many adults spend most of their day at work, sometimes 8 to 10 hours or even more. After a long day, they feel tired and just want to go home and rest. This means they have less energy and time to meet friends or make new ones. Some people also work remotely from home, which can be convenient, but it can also reduce daily social interaction. Without casual conversations at the office or during lunch breaks, people may start to feel isolated. Another reason for loneliness in adulthood is that friendships often change over time. When you are young, friendships are usually based on shared environments, like school or university. You see your friends every day, and it is easy to stay close. But as adults, people move, change jobs, get married, or have children. Suddenly, everyone has different schedules and different priorities. It becomes difficult to find time that works for everyone, and slowly, some friendships become weaker or even disappear. Technology is also a double-edged sword. On one hand, social media and messaging apps allow us to stay in touch with people who live far away. We can send messages, share photos, and even have video calls. But on the other hand, online communication is not always as satisfying as real, face-to-face interaction. You might have hundreds of contacts on your phone or many followers online, but still feel lonely because those interactions are short, superficial, or not very personal. Another important reason adults feel lonely is that it becomes harder to make new friends as we get older. When we are children, we often make friends quickly and easily. We might just start talking to someone in class or on the playground. As adults, however, we often become more careful and sometimes more afraid of rejection. We might worry about what others think of us, or we might feel that we are too busy to invest time in new relationships. Because of this, many adults stay within a small social circle and don't expand it, even if they feel lonely. Life changes and big events can also increase feelings of loneliness. For example, moving to a new city or country can be very exciting, but it can also be very isolating at first. You leave behind your old friends, your family, and familiar places. It takes time to build a new social network, and during that time, you might feel very alone. The same can happen after a breakup, divorce, or the loss of a loved one. These experiences can leave a big emotional gap in a person's life. Parenthood is another interesting example. Many people think that having children means you will never feel lonely, because you are always surrounded by family. But some parents, especially new parents, actually report feeling more lonely than before. They may spend most of their time caring for their child and have less time for friends or hobbies. They might also feel that other people don't fully understand the challenges they are facing, which can create a sense of isolation. There is also a social expectation that adults should be strong, independent, and emotionally stable. Because of this, many people feel embarrassed or ashamed to admit that they are lonely. They might think, I have a job, I have a partner, I have a normal life. Why do I still feel this way? So they keep their feelings to themselves instead of talking about them. Unfortunately, this silence can make loneliness even worse. Loneliness is not just an emotional issue, it can also affect our physical and mental health. Research has shown that long-term loneliness can increase stress, anxiety, and even the risk of depression. It can also affect sleep and weaken the immune system. In other words, loneliness is not something small or unimportant. It is a real health issue that deserves attention and care. Now that we understand why adults often feel lonely, let's talk about what can help. The first step is simply to accept that loneliness is a normal human feeling. It does not mean that you are a failure or that there is something wrong with you. At different times in life, almost everyone feels lonely. When we accept this, it becomes easier to talk about it and to look for solutions. One helpful strategy is to make a conscious effort to maintain existing friendships. This might sound obvious, but in busy adult life, we often assume that friendships will continue without effort. In reality, relationships need time and attention. Sending a message, making a phone call, or planning to meet for coffee can make a big difference. Even small, regular contact helps keep a connection alive. Another useful step is to create opportunities to meet new people. This might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are shy or introverted, but there are many natural ways to do it. You can join a class, a sports group, a language course, or a volunteer organization. When you meet people through shared activities, conversations often start more easily because you already have something in common. It is also important to focus on the quality of relationships, not just the number of people you know. Some people think that they need a large social circle to feel less lonely, but that is not always true. Having one or two close, supportive friends can be more meaningful than having many casual acquaintances. Deep conversations, trust, and emotional support are what really reduce loneliness. Another helpful idea is to limit passive use of social media. Scrolling for hours and comparing your life to others can actually increase feelings of loneliness and dissatisfaction. Instead, try to use technology in a more active and positive way. For example, you can use it to organize real-life meetings, have meaningful conversations, or join online communities where people share your interests in a more personal and supportive way. Talking about your feelings is also very important. If you feel lonely, you might try sharing this with someone you trust. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a therapist. Many people are surprised to discover that others have felt the same way at some point. Opening up can create deeper connections and reduce the feeling that you are alone in your experience. It is also helpful to build a life that includes activities you enjoy, even if you do them alone. Hobbies such as reading, cooking, painting, gardening, or learning a new skill can give you a sense of purpose and satisfaction. When you feel more fulfilled in your own life, loneliness often becomes less intense. In addition, hobbies can sometimes lead to meeting people who share your interests, which can naturally lead to new friendships. We should also remember that different cultures and societies treat loneliness in different ways. In some cultures, there is a strong focus on community and extended family, while in others, independence and individual success are more important. In very individualistic societies, adults may feel more pressure to manage everything alone, which can increase isolation. Understanding this can help us see that loneliness is not only a personal issue, but also a social one. Another important point is that loneliness does not always disappear quickly. Building meaningful relationships takes time. You might join a new group or start talking to new people and still feel lonely for a while. This is normal. Trust and closeness grow slowly, through repeated contact and shared experiences. Being patient with yourself and with others is a key part of the process. If you are listening to this podcast to improve your English, here is a useful word related to today's topic: connection. A connection is a relationship or a bond between people. For example, you might say, I feel a strong connection with my childhood friend, or I'm looking for deeper connections in my life. Practicing new vocabulary in real sentences helps you remember it more easily. Let's also look at another useful expression, to drift apart. This means that two people slowly become less close over time, often because they don't spend as much time together anymore. For example, after university, many of us moved to different cities and we slowly drifted apart. This is a very common experience in adult life and often a source of loneliness. Before we finish, I want to remind you that feeling lonely does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. Humans are social beings. We need understanding, communication, and emotional support. Admitting that we need others is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of honesty and self-awareness. If you are currently feeling lonely, consider taking one small step this week. It could be sending a message to someone you haven't spoken to in a while, joining an online or local group, or simply talking openly about how you feel. Small actions, repeated over time, can lead to meaningful change. And if you are not feeling lonely right now, it might still be helpful to check in with people around you. A simple message like, "Hey, how have you been?" can mean more than you think. Sometimes, we don't realize that someone close to us is struggling with loneliness because they are too shy or too proud to say it first. Thank you very much for spending this time with me today. I hope this episode helped you not only practice your English listening and vocabulary, but also reflect on your own life and relationships. Loneliness is a complex but very common part of adult life, and by talking about it openly, we can start to reduce its power over us. I look forward to sharing more topics with you in future episodes. Until next time, take care of yourself and don't forget to stay connected with the people who matter to you.